Hi, this is Chris Copeland with Hitchhiker's Guide to Humanity, and I'm here today with Ronnie. She is the human for the alien Mako, and I am the human for the alien Crystal. And we are talking about corruption in Africa during this week's series. And it's specifically for this podcast, we want to talk about grassroots ways for people at the ground level to start making changes in their government and in their culture to promote a less corrupt society, more equality among people. And what are some ways that you see that happening, Ronnie? What are some ways that just average, regular citizens in Kenya can start working to end corruption?
At an individual level, what people can do is maybe if you see, for instance, traffic police, corruption and bribery is really a lot in traffic and on the roads. So if you see a police officer taking a bribe, you can just maybe get out your phone and take it and just share it out. The embarrassment and it being out there in the open for people to see might actually force their hand into taking actions against such corrupt police officers. So just reporting it, even though in some instances reporting it has not really done a lot to change the issues. Earning people, of course, people know that it is ethically wrong, that it is something that they should not be doing. But in most instances, when maybe you need to travel, you need a passport, you desperately need to travel, and there's nothing else you can do, and this person is holding hostage this service until you part with something small. So in such instances, you find that somebody, your hands are tied. There's nothing maybe you can do apart from just. But in cases whereby you can do without giving out a bribe, at an individual level, people need to stop the culture of giving bribes, because nowadays it has become something that is just, let me not normal, not normal, but actually normal in this country. That is just the honest truth. Some people go to the extent of saying that that is how the country runs, and comparing it to if Uhuru or if Ruto, our president and the vice president, can scam people out of money, can grab. Our vice president has been tied to a lot of land grabbing issues in the past. So if they can grab land, so why not me just taking $10 or 1,000 shillings bribe to better the lives of my family? So people need to just like stop enabling this culture, because it is us as the citizens who also enable it by continuing, by normalizing it. In other words, we've normalized it to the point that whenever you want a service done, you cannot wait for 3 weeks, 1 month for your passport to come out. You know that if I give him $20 or 2,000 bob, I will get the passport in a rush. But you actually, if you don't need it in 2 days or in 3 days, then stop the culture of giving these people money. If you know very well that there's nothing wrong that I have done on the road, you don't need to buy chai. You don't need to give these people, these police officers, a bribe. If you know that it is something that even if you're taken forward for not having a headlight that is working well or not having insurance, but it is something that you can easily fix even if you're reported, so just go forward and fix it instead of handing bribe. We have normal, as citizens of Kenya and of many African countries, we have really normalized this issue of giving bribes. So much so that every government officer or every person who works in government or any other person has taken it as a normal thing. If for it is their job, they need to do their job. It is a job that they're being paid to do, but also they find it, they, since it has been normalized in the country and it's something that everybody does, so they also just feel the need to let me also just continue collecting the bribe. And the more we continue doing this, the more we continue enabling this culture to continue, the deeper it gets and the more it will never and never end. I can also say that maybe at a higher level now, at a higher level than the individual and the grassroots level. There are some institutions which are higher than the national government or the national institutions, which can help in pushing these issues of corruption in the country. I was reading about the African Union Convention to prevent and combat corruption. So people who are in a position to take these matters higher than to higher authorities than the national government, because if a vice president is entangled, or a prime of the former prime minister that we had, are the ones who are entangled in big corruption scandals, and they're the ones who are in charge of the country. The biggest laws courts in Kenya are the ones who are letting people walk with corruption crimes. So there's nowhere really that these people can be taken. So if there's anybody or any institution out there like Transparency International that I was telling you about, that can take up these matters to a higher level and help us get intervention for the places or the people or the departments and the government institutions that we cannot touch as citizens. Those are some of the steps that need to be taken, because if people see that these government officials and politicians are being held accountable for their corruption actions, and actually they're taking responsibility, they're being jailed or made to pay like hefty fines for their crimes, then at least it will scare some of these people who are engaging in bribery and in corruption to take action. There's a few months ago, I think it was in January or something. There's a member of parliament in Kenya. He has sued a lot of people, so hopefully he'll not also sue me for saying this. But he has sued a lot of people for mentioning this. Who shot a DJ at a nightclub. He was at a nightclub and something happened, and he shot a DJ and he was caught on camera. He was arrested and taken to court, and a few days later, he's walking. He's walking. The person he shot is bedridden. He's paralyzed, cannot do anything for himself. He has become a vegetable. But the guy, the member of parliament, is walking freely and going about his business as an MP. So you wonder what kind of courts and what kind of legal systems we have. So if we cannot do anything as normal citizens to help the situations at the courts level, at the political level, if there's somebody or some institutions or organizations out there which can take up the issue, advocate for better systems, better implementations of our policies and our legislations, then that is something that can actually help Kenya move past these corruption issues.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if he tries to sue you, then he can try to sue me too, and good luck to him with that, because Western courts will be on him so fast for attempting that would just be laughable. So yeah, if he wants to try it, bring it. I'll be happy to take him on with that issue. And so let's go back to a couple of different things that you pointed out that I think are great ideas, and ones that have actually started showing that they work in American culture as well, with trying to fight corruption. It is making sure you film it for sure. Make sure you get, and this is something that I've recommended to anyone who gets pulled over in America. It's something that I follow myself. If you are pulled over in America, pull out your phone, start filming immediately, because even if they're wearing a body cam, lots of times that body cam evidence just goes missing afterwards. So yeah, I always pull out my camera and start filming. I've only been pulled over a couple of times, but just for safety reasons, I just keep it out there, because you just never know what kind of cop you're going to get that day. And I think that's a great idea. And sharing that on social media is so important. Like, people often make fun of SJW, social justice warriors, on Facebook and on Twitter. But you know what? That does actually work, because, and it's twofold. One, you're putting your voice out there to say this terrible thing happened and I don't want it to continue happening, and there needs to be justice brought forward for it. And two, it actually works in Google algorithms as well. You add those hashtags to it, you add those keywords to it, and that's going to get wrapped up into that system and start getting fed out everywhere as the new popular thing to talk about. And companies pull that data so that they can plan their own advertising. They can plan where their dollars go. And if they say, oh, wow, I saw this bad thing on Twitter, and there's lots and lots of hashtags on it, and we really need to like take a stance on this, they're doing it. They're actually doing that. That we've seen that same thing happen with Black Lives Matter. We've seen Aunt Jemima leave the shelves, so now we no longer have minstrel characters on our food products walking through Walmart. They've taken Uncle Ben off the shelves, again, another minstrel character. There are so many companies that are starting to come forward and say, and they're doing it for kind of the wrong reasons. They're doing it because they know it'll make them money on the other end. But I don't care why they're doing it, as long as they're doing it, as long as they're taking a stance and saying, no, we're not standing for this anymore, and we're not going to put our taxpayer money or our tax money into it, and we're not going to put our profits into this anymore. And that's even been effective here in the Netherlands. There was recently a show, I think the name was Veronica Inside, and one of the hosts on there, or a guest or something like that, made this horrible statement. And this show is about football, it's about soccer, and this horrible statement about a Black Lives Matter activist here, referring to him as Black Pete, Zwarte Piet. And there was such outrage about it, and all kinds of social media posts regarding how this was not appropriate for him to say, and he needs to understand the pain that this causes people here. And it became such an outrage that that show kind of went off the air for a little bit, and this guy's no longer on it, and there was a big debate about it, and it actually culminated in this big discussion Sunday night about racism in the Netherlands. And there's actually been so many good things to come out of his screw up, his few words that he said on television that were just repeated over and over and over and over again on social media, replayed over again on social media, to the point where people had to pay attention. And especially this show, who has let him say these terrible things before for a while now, and claim that he's still not racist, their advertising got pulled. So companies decided, okay, well, people are going to stop buying our products if we don't take a stand on this. So we're no longer going to advertise with your television show. And, money speaks. So if you're, don't think that SJW does not work, because it absolutely does. The more you get those keywords, the more you get those hashtags into the algorithm, even if it's just your one post a day that's, I didn't like this thing that's happening, and I don't want to spend my money at this place or on this show. That is paid attention to by those big businesses. The other thing that you mentioned was that people should be, voicing their concerns and making the complaints and standing up and saying this is wrong. So let's keep making sure that that's an active part of what we do. It's certainly something that I do, like using my posts daily on Facebook. It's constantly and I do that because it's important. One, I just enjoy being on Facebook, and I love reading, and I love sharing what I learn. But I also realize that in a small way, that does make a difference. And I have had companies comment, and even like somewhat well-known celebrities or people, I've had those people comment on some of the things that I've written, and in support, in favor of what I'm doing. And so that gives me encouragement that we can use our voices, we can use our platforms on social media to make a real difference. We can tag those companies, find out who is actually giving money, who is supporting these politicians, and what businesses they frequent, and shame them publicly for it, and make sure that they know that we're not going to stand for that in this new world we're creating, a world of justice and equality and fairness. So when we come back for our next episode tomorrow, I would like to go in and dive into the companies, because we've been talking a lot about individual corruption. I'd like to know what the aspects of company corruption are. How is big business influencing politics and the laws in Kenya? And I'm guessing it's similar to what we see in the United States as well. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us today. And if you are an SJW, put a shout out on the particular cause you are supporting in the comments. I'll be happy to repost anything you put onto social media. I'm all for supporting those causes that we all need to be supporting. So thank you for listening in today, and thank you, Ronnie, for joining.